In this video, we will be replacing the rear differential fluid in this 2012 Ford F-150. From the back of the vehicle, we will begin by taking a look up underneath the bed. As we take a look under the vehicle, we can clearly see our spare tire, and directly next to that spare tire, we have our rear differential assembly. Now, for the purpose of access, I have removed the spare tire, primarily for filming purposes, but with the spare tire still on, you should be able to get in there. It'll just be a little bit tighter. If we take a look around the perimeter of the rear differential, we have 12 bolts. We also have 3 locations where we have retaining clips for our braking system. Taking a look at the other side of that differential unit, we do see our fill plug location. We will want to coat this with Amsoil metal protector, which is a penetrating oil that will aid in the removal process of this plug. Now, this fill plug is removed with a 3/8 inch ratchet. We always want to remove the fill plug first, because if you drain out the system and can't get the fill plug off, there's no way to put fluid back into the system. And before removing the plug, I am going to place a drip pan underneath it, just in case this has been overfilled. And we'll stick a cloth in there temporarily. And it is worth noting that our drain plug does have a magnet on it, which will collect metal particles inside of the differential. We will want to clean this off at some point, and our goal is to get it as clean as we possibly can. Shifting our focus back to the rear of the vehicle, we want to remove our 3 retaining clips for our brake line, and these do just pull straight off. And we can then put that out of the way. And before taking out all of the bolts, we will make note of those 3 stud bolt locations so we can return them in the same position. After I remove all of the 13mm bolts, my differential cover should still be held on by the gasket material. However, out of precaution, I do have a drip pan underneath this. And bolts that are really tough, I can use a combination wrench with a rubber mallet. And temporarily, I am going to put a couple of bolts back in, a couple turns, just so the rear cover doesn't fall off. And I'm going to be using a standard head screwdriver and rubber mallet to very gently separate the differential cover from the differential. You want to do this very carefully so you do not damage the mating surfaces. And we're going to let that fluid drain out for a while. Out of curiosity, I figured I'd collect a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and work that the rest of the way off. Now, we do have a pool of fluid in the bottom of the differential. We will want to clean this out as best as we can. And I do like to cover this with a cloth because I am working outside. Taking a look at the inside of the rear differential cover, we're going to take some Amsoil brake and parts cleaner, and we will clean the inside as best as we can to remove as much debris as we can. And then very carefully, using a scraper or razor blade, we want to clean off the old sealant. We want to do this very carefully so that we do not damage the mating surface. And our objective is to get this as clean as we can to prep that for reassembly. And underneath the vehicle, we also want to scrape all of the gasket material off. The challenge with this is that we don't want it to fall inside of the differential. And I am using a little bit of acetone to help get that gasket material off. After scraping that gasket material off, I'm looking pretty good. With both of our mating surfaces clean and dry, we're going to apply a small bead of RTV Ultra Black to our differential cover around the entire perimeter and each bolt hole. We're going to apply our gasket to that differential cover. We're then going to put another small bead of RTV Ultra Black on the other side of the gasket. And then we will immediately assemble this onto the vehicle. With this on the vehicle, we're going to start each bolt by hand and we're going to put it finger tight. At this point, all of those bolts are finger tight. We're going to let this dry for 1 hour and then we will come back and torque each of these bolts to our specification. With that RTV Ultra Black having sat for 1 hour, we are now able to go back and torque each of these bolts to 33 foot-pounds. When torquing these, I will be jumping around, as in I'm not going to go in a circle. I'm going to move across from the previous one that I tightened. This is always a good practice when we have a series of bolts. And our objective in doing this is to apply an even amount of pressure as we install this. And then I do like to come back and verify each bolt is torqued, and I will just go in a circle for that, just to make sure that I am not missing one of the bolts. And with that torqued down, we're going to let that sit for 24 hours to fully cure before we fill this system back up and return it to service. After letting that Ultra Black RTV gasket seal for 24 hours, we are ready to refill our rear differential. This particular vehicle calls for Amsoil Severe Gear 75W140, and it does take 5.5 pints for the 9.75 ring gear. Now we will know that this does get full when the differential fluid starts to come out of the fill hole location. So it is always good to have a drip pan underneath it. Using the differential fluid with the flexible squeeze bags work really good. You could also get a bottle pump and connect that to a hard quart container. In total, this will take about 3 quarts. And out of curiosity, I did want to compare my new fluid with my old fluid, even though fluid color is not the only indicator of a fluid's health. And with that topped off, I'm going to prep my fill location plug with a little bit of Permatex thread sealant with PTFE. And we can then install that on our vehicle. Now this does get torqued to 22 foot-pounds. And then I'm going to clean everything off with Amsoil Heavy Duty Degreaser. And this will allow me to tell if this is oozing any oil over time by making sure we get that all cleaned up. And I'll do that on my cover as well. And lastly, we want to replace those clips for our braking component line.